So let me kind of set some context for tonight and why I wanted to do this. At the beginning of this year, I did a training. It wasn't exclusive for the Den. I think we actually put the training on YouTube, but we invited those of you in the Den to be a part of it. I took some Q&A with the Den after a training I did on a new strategy for goal setting that I was exploring this year. A 4x4 model, right? Identifying 4 specific targeted areas. And we did a whole teaching on this in terms of how goals are basically chapters in the book of your vision. They are, it is your vision broken down in incremental steps, etc. It is goal setting is a practical manifestation of Habakkuk 2, writing a vision, making it plain, etc. And so I was experimenting with this new approach. And I told you, I was like, hey, I'm not going to wait an entire year before I come back and let you know how it's going for me. So I wanted to come back because we're almost at the end of month 4. And I'm like, okay, let me kind of come back because I've made some tweaks or two. So let me just share this very frankly. It didn't go well for me. Edwin, it's good to see you in Chicago the other night, by the way. It didn't go well for me. Now, let me tell you why. Let me put it this way. It didn't go well the first 3 months, but the last 3 weeks, I've made more progress than I did the first 3 months. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit later the reasons I think it didn't go well for me. But it definitely did not. And but I want to tell you kind of what I did, what I learned. So I put it into a training format. And these past 3 weeks, I've just made more progress than I did in 3 months. And Dr. Kelly Jackson says seasons change. Exactly right. So anyway, there's some mindset work I had to do with some methodology shifts that I had to make. And so I kind of want to take what I've learned and put it kind of in a framework for you and just kind of share it with you so that you get a sense of maybe what tweaks you need to make if you need to make any. I see some in the chat saying it went incredibly well. So Sharice, it went amazing. And so like it's great because I think the framework works, but I don't think I was working it right. So there are a couple of things I had to do, and I want to kind of talk you through that. But I want to start by sharing this, guys. The difference between successful and unsuccessful, guys, isn't whether or not you veer off a path. It's whether or not you know how to recover quickly. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful, the fruitful and the unfruitful, those that optimize and those that don't optimize, isn't that neither one of them veers off the path. Everyone veers off a path. To veer off a path is to be human. The difference between those that optimize and those that don't, those that are successful and those that aren't, the difference is very clear. The difference is those who have mastered the art of recovering quickly. So mid-course correction is an essential skill for people who are committed to optimize. If you're committed to optimize, put "that's me" in the chat. Right? Because not to be committed to optimize is to be a bad steward. I don't care what religious jargon someone uses, the natural abilities, acquired skills, and spiritual gifts that God has deposited in every believer are not skills and gifts they will need when they get to heaven. He gave them to us for earth. So we should be committed to optimization. It is the way we serve others well. It is being good stewards of the gifts that God's given us. So we're going to, for those that optimize, course correction is a competency you have to develop. Because to drift doesn't mean you're weak. To drift means you're human. But in the Den, we believe in dominion. We call it verb form. We want to dominate. And in order to do that, we don't deny the drift. We detect the drift, and then we correct the drift. We don't deny the drift. We say we drifted, and we detect the drift, and then correct the drift. See, here's the thing, guys. Here's one of the challenges. When I went from setting yearly goals to this 4x4 framework, Edwin, here's the assumption I made. Kay, here's the assumption I made. Leslie, here's the assumption I made. I made the assumption that because I wasn't doing it yearly, it didn't require the same sort of intensity. Because it's almost like certain goals you set for a year, you can look at them and it feels like it's going to take me a year to do this. But when you're doing 4x4, sometimes you can underestimate how consistent you got to be at doing a thing in order to actually get it done in that 4-month period. Does that make sense? So like with the yearly goals for me, I was like, I feel like I found myself in some areas I might have made the accurate assumption, hey, it's going to take me about a year to do this, so I need to get on this. But it's like, I only got 4 things. I think I can do 4 things in 4 months. It's manageable. So I did not approach them with the same kind of intentionality and intensity. So I was looking at my goals and I was like, man, I feel like I've kind of drifted away from what these goals are. So here's my point. If veering off is inevitable, then learning how to get back on track is essential. And so I kind of walked myself through this process that I'm going to share with you really quickly. And then, I'm going to let you go. It is, I call it this R3 framework: reset, refocus, and realign. Reset, refocus, and realign. All right. So let's walk through these very quickly. The first one, reset. What does that mean? First of all, I had to reset my standards. Now remember, your standards are your floor, not your ceiling. Your standards are your floor, not your ceiling. Your standards are your floor, not your ceiling. Now your goals, listen to me, are aspirational. That's your ceiling. Your standard is the floor. The goals are what you aspire to. Standards are the least you allow. Your standards aren't what you articulate. Your standards are what you allow. That's what your standards are. And some people they're deceived, about their standards when they need to detect their standards. And if you don't like your standards, you can correct your standards. But here's the great thing about standards versus goals. You can't probably reach a goal overnight. You can change a standard in a moment. Reaching a goal requires reaching a destination. But surely changing a standard is simply making a decision. You can make a decision right now, I will not allow that anymore. You can change a standard right now. Somebody put right now in the chat. Right now. Right now. It is the equivalence of repentance. A person can have a metamufu, a change of mind that leads to a change of direction, a decision. So although you can't change your destination overnight, you can change your standards immediately. So 3 types of standards we need to reset. 3 types of standards we need to reset. Okay, here's the first one. The first one we need to reset is personal standards. Personal standards. Here's the question. What are you allowing of yourself? There were some things I had to admit, Dharius, you're allowing, there's some things that you're allowing, right? There are some things you're allowing. You're allowing yourself to be distracted. You're allowing yourself to be caught up in other priorities for you and not the priorities you set for yourself. Is this resonating with anybody? If it's resonating with, just let me know in the chat. I see you, Bertina. Yeah, I was like, okay, I've got to reset what I'm allowing. Does that make sense? I can't stop them from calling, but I'm taking the calls. I can't. I mean, they can ask me for my time. I don't have to give them my time. I mean, what am I allowing? So I had to reset my personal standards. And here's here's what I had to say to myself, guys. And this is not going to be on the notes, so you might want to write this down, or you could maybe go back at the replay and take notes. But here's one of the things I want to share with you because I think it's so important. I had to accept. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? I had to accept. I can't believe I'm about to say this. This is incredibly transparent for me to say this. But I had to accept that my boredom was getting in the way of my optimization. Does that make sense, guys? I mean, so it's like, you're like, I don't really feel like doing this right now. This is not intriguing. It's not invigorating. And when you're a person that is orderly and structured and you have to operate according to a rhythm so long, even though you know long-term it produces freedom, sometimes it just feels like bondage and boredom. And it's like, I just don't want to do that right now. If I'm not, don't leave me out here by myself. Okay. If don't leave your boy out here. If you've ever felt that in any way, just put me too. Thank you. Okay. I see you, Dina. I know Dina's going to have my back. So I had to stop allowing that out of me. It's like, okay, Dharius, yeah, some things that you want are on the other side of doing what you don't want. So I had to reset like personal standards. What am I allowing? This one, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I literally considered doing this whole training on the second point I'm about to give you right here, relational standards. There's so much in my heart about this. I literally considered doing the whole training on this. Personal standards. What am I allowing of myself? Relational standards. What am I tolerating from others? Am I making sense? Hey guys, can you put my screen back here? I'm looking at something completely, I can't see anything right now. We could just, yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. So, I could literally, listen to me, family. Literally, I thought about doing the entire training on this right here. Can I just give you a little bit? Can we just unpack this a little bit? I know we're just on resetting the standards. We hadn't even got to refocus yet, but this is incredibly important. Okay. This is incredibly important. So Edwin, Edwin, I know you're gonna take copious notes, but I am gonna have to come back and do a training and unpack what this little bit I'm about to share with you guys. I literally learned. Listen to me. It was like maybe in a different way. Let me not say learn. I got a greater understanding on the difference between cultural niceness and kingdom kindness. That I was at times unconsciously conflating cultural niceness with kingdom kindness. And niceness is a social construct. Kindness is a kingdom mandate. And I was confusing kindness with niceness. And signing up for niceness is signing up for suffering. Signing up for niceness is signing up for exploitation. Signing up for niceness is signing up for being used. Because niceness is connected to pleasing. Kindness is connected to serving. And what God has called us to do is to serve, not please. Paul even warns us against pleasing in Galatians. So if you're going to optimize, you can be kind. Did you guys hear what I'm saying? So the opposite of nice isn't rude. The opposite of nice is authentic. Oh gosh. Am I making sense, guys? And so when you're nice, you'll let people blow up your boundaries. When you're nice, you'll let people's irresponsibility become your emergency. When you're nice, you will invest before you evaluating whether or not that person is a wise place for you to make an investment. And so what many of us are dealing with in our relationships is this: you're too nice. Oh, see, this is different. See, this is why we got to have a community like Daniel's Den, because people who hear this with the filter of a Pharisee will think I'm saying be mean, because we have been conditioned to think that the opposite of nice is mean. And it's not. Nice has to do with pleasing. Nice has to do with this orientation to give people what they want. And the Bible calls us to be gentle. The Bible calls us to be kind. Come on. Kindly affection one toward another, to serve each other in humility. But sometimes that means I can't give you what you want. Is this okay? Did that hit anybody besides me? Yeah. I just need to, Edwin, I got to do a training on this, Edwin. I literally had to reconstruct my relational standards and say, now, here's because it's almost like when you're operating in niceness. Can I just have 2 more minutes on this? Now y'all see why I almost did a whole new, but it literally, I want you to see, it connects to your goals. It was definitely a thing that was impacting my ability, not just my personal standards, my relational standards were impacting my ability to accomplish my goals. Now, I don't have an issue reaching goals, but I set different kind of goals this year. And to reach different kind of goals, you got to live your life a different kind of way. When your goals go up, so do your standards. You can't reach new goals with old standards. And my goals shifted and my standards didn't. It wasn't that my standards were too low. They were not high enough to reach the goals I'd set. So I'm looking through and I'm thinking, working through this concept of of niceness, and I literally I was so unconsciously operating in niceness. It was as if I had a standard for relationships where the dominant criteria was just don't disrespect me. I had to realize, does that make sense? It was like, okay, now I don't do disrespect, but I realized something. All right, now I can only share this in the den, right? I can only share this in the den because this is different. I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this. I had to admit, I not only not want to be disrespected, my standard now is I need to be appreciated. Now, let me tell you why I felt okay setting this standard. Because God does. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus performs a miracle for some lepers. He tells the lepers to go show themselves to the priest. Come on, right? Go show yourself to the priest. 10 lepers he heals. And the Bible says as they went, they were healed. One of them turns around and comes back. One of them turns around and comes back. And Jesus said, were there not 10 of you? Where are the other 9? One comes back and says, thank you. Jesus says, I performed 10 miracles. I got one thank you. Even Jesus wanted to be appreciated. Am I making sense, guys? I hear you, Sharnita. I hear you through the screen. Even Jesus, I was like, no, this is a standard. I don't have to have reciprocity in the sense that you give me what I give you. That's not healthy. I don't think that's biblical. But I do have to have appreciation. That is a standard. And if you get amnesia quickly, did you catch that? If you get, I'm not judging you for amnesia. I'm just saying that's the least remember, it's not the ceiling, it's the floor. It's got to be appreciation. It's got to be some thank you. Oh gosh. I gotta do this. This is like, yeah, I gotta unpack this. Cultural niceness versus kingdom kindness. There needs to be some deconstruction as it relates to our view of niceness. And we've got to see that the opposite of niceness is not meanness, it's authenticity. It is stewardship. It is advocating for you and what you are responsible for. Am I making sense, guys? Okay. So resetting personal standards, resetting relational standards, and then I had to reset some professional standards. What was going to be the baseline for my output and my prep and my follow-up? There was and this is spiritual intelligence, right? It's like, this is spiritual intelligence. There's a story I told about an experience I had about this time last year where a guy he's from London, but he was here in America, and he talked about something called satisfactory underperformance. And how when a person is a high achiever and a high performer, even when you're underperforming, you're still outperforming most. So, but you know you're not reaching your potential. So this guy called it satisfactory underperformance. It's like it's underperformance, but your underperformance still outperforms others. So in everybody else's eyes, it's satisfactory. It's like, that was amazing. And it's like, I just kind of, pulled that one together. Is this too honest? This is a very vulnerable training. Is this too honest? Right. So I had to reset. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do some brief reflection right now. I want you to put in the chat, out of these three, is there anyone you need to reset? Is it a personal standard? Is it, Annette said, oh, wait a minute, y'all. Yeah, I had to reset. I had to reset all three. But the one that was killing me the most was that relational. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Stephanie, I'm going back one time. Joyce, I'm going back one time. I'm gonna go back. Joyce used to be Hannibal. I'm going back one time to this relational standard thing one more time. Guys, I want you to see how I just want to show you one more way it affects the reaching of your goals. Because when you're not in relationships that have some sort of reciprocity, it ends up ultimately impacting you emotionally. And your emotional state contributes to about 48% of your productivity. I mean, it's just hard to optimize when you're in a sunken state, when you feel you've been handled unjustly, when you are hurt, when you are confused. Am I making sense? It's hard to optimize. And so when you're like constantly tolerating that relationally, then ultimately the accumulation of the inequity in relationships just affects you emotionally to the point where you're not even motivated the same way. Like when there's unappreciation, when there's chronic unappreciation, it leads to eventual demotivation. Now, should we reset that? Yes. And I know the filter of the Pharisees is going to say, you should be doing it for the Lord. And this, of course, but I'm talking to humans. We're human. And we feel. And the feelings are real even when they're not right. They affect us even if they're not accurate. And we have to work through them, but you cannot adjust what you don't acknowledge. Anyway, let me go through these other two and we'll wrap up here. So reset the standards. Was that point helpful? Anybody? Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Reset the standards. Here's another one. Refocus on your systems. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says this: we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. You have to refocus on the systems. The human body is made of systems: cardiovascular system, nervous system, skeletal system, muscular system. We even have in creation, God has a solar system. So God created us with systems and am I making sense? And so when we look at the way we should be managing our lives, it's going to require systems. Nelson seriously says a system saves you stress, time, energy, money. That's the acronym. Saves you stress, time, energy, money. Saves you stress, time, energy, money. Sometimes we don't need more strength. We just need the right systems. So here's some systems we have to evaluate. One, spiritual systems. Like, what is my system for optimizing spiritually? Am I making sense? And am I working the system? So I didn't have to re-strategize my systems. I had to refocus on them because my systems would work if I worked them. Does that make sense? So is it, okay, what's my prayer with them? What does this season require? So for me, obviously, I'm going to be consistent with my morning devotion, but the season I'm in, Sharnita, it requires the daily office. I've got to get the 3 pauses in the day. What I'm carrying in this season, morning alone with Jesus ain't enough. I need another check-in by midday. And what happens with me spiritually regulates me emotionally. Come on here. It impacts me physiologically. It regulates that. The meditation and the breath work regulates my nervous system. Biblical meditation, right? Not Eastern meditation. But the systems, it's like, no. In this season, Dharius, you need those. You got to have it. Got to have it in the morning. Got to have that pause in that midday. And I got to have it at night. And so I'm doing a daily office. I'm not doing a full-fledged devotion 3 times that way. Does that make sense? The morning is the deep devotion, but the other 2 are almost like these quick check-ins. Like, let me just pause for a minute. Let me pray. Let me take a worship walk. Does that make sense? Let me look back over these notes, because I write little one-liner notes that I pull from my devotional time in the morning. Let me just renew my mind with this. That's my systems. And here, you know, one of the things when you optimize spiritually, you know what else you optimize? When you optimize spiritually, it also increases your discernment. And when your discernment is increased, now you're able to see you're able to see beyond the filter and the lens of your emotions. And so now you're able to see when you're actually being exploited. Y'all missed it. Because sometimes the emotional attachment makes you blind to relational realities. It's like, no, I'm not saying they don't love you, but they are using you. They do love you, but they're using you. And, and sometimes it takes you like spiritually tapped in to actually be able to discern that. Not just awareness of what they're doing, but awareness of what's going on with you. Like it took a revelation for me to say, yeah, I just don't feel appreciated. You understand what I'm saying? It's like it took that for me to see me, to say, okay, I'm mad that you got mad the one time I said no. So what are the spiritual systems? 2, what are the productivity systems? Like, what systems am I working to maximize my productivity? Here's one tweak, guys, I made that helped me so much. Here's what I did, Lori. I said, every day, I'm going to read these goals. It changed everything. I said, I'm going to read my devotion. I'm going to do my devotion. And when I'm done with the devotion, I'm going to read my 7 I am statements. And then I'm going to read these 4 goals. It's only 4 things. I'm going to read these every day. That reminder helped me with my productivity. So what do? I use the Todoist app as my to-do, to map my projects and goals and everything. So what happens is when I'm reading that, you get to see the stuff that isn't done. And then even if you don't reach a whole goal, like you got a goal, but inside all the goals are like steps you got to take, right? So let's say somebody might have, you might have a financial goal. There's like tons of little things that you have to do to reach that financial goal in the 4 months. Well, what happens is those little things that can be done, like some of that stuff is, okay, I'm going to put this on the Todoist for today. Does that make sense, guys? Or it's like, oh, I said I wanted to be this percentage body fat. I hadn't even did a scan I don't even know where I am. Let me do a scan on the thing. Does that make sense? I switched to the, like I wanted to be like on top of like my resources in a completely different way. So I went to, there's so many out there. I'm not endorsing this one, but I went to, what do I use? Like Rocket Money or Rocket Manager or something like that. Anyway, I went to that. I look at it every day. Just these small little tweaks in my productivity system helped me move the needle more in 3 weeks than I did in 3 months. And then emotional systems. It's been a very busy season, guys. So Thursdays is a day for like soul work. And I have what's called a soul keeping strategy. And I've walked y'all through this before. I've taught you all of the questions I ask myself and all that and like what I do. And so I call it Thursday's kind of my day to do that. But because stuff has been so crazy, watch this, guys. It's not that I wasn't abandoning it, that I was abandoning it. Like it wasn't that I wasn't doing it. It was like I wasn't doing it deeply. Because time was so crunched, I wasn't allocating the kind of time that a person like me has to allocate to dig deep enough to even be tapped into what's going on in your soul. Because I'm an INTJ. I don't feel first. I'm not in the feels. Does that make sense? It's like I got to use a feelings wheel sometimes. Like, what do I feel here? It's like, I know I'll feel off. So if somebody asks like, what's wrong? And let's say if I say I don't know, I'm not dismissing the question. It's like, at this moment, I don't know. So I had to refocus on the systems. Okay, so spiritual system, productivity system, or emotional system. Out of these 3, which one do you feel like you may need to lean into the most? I see the emotional, I see the spiritual, I see the productivity. I see all 3, all of them, productivity. Good. All right. So this helpful, guys? All right. So we'll reset standards, refocus on systems, and then finally, we need to realign your strategy. Sometimes we don't need a new destination, we just need a better route. Sometimes the problem is not where you're trying to go, it's the way you're trying to get there. When do I realign? Really simple. When the outcome isn't matching the effort. It's like, does that make sense? It's like, okay, I'm working too hard not to get these results. Here's another one. When you're feeling exhausted and not energized. I don't want to reach a goal and be woe down when I get there. Or when you recognize I've outgrown the strategy I've started with. I've got bigger goals, but smaller strategies. I've got new goals, but old strategies. So this is the power of the pivot. It's the tweak. So we're going to reset our standards. We're going to refocus on our systems. And we're going to realign our strategy. So, I want to manage this with integrity and transparency. And I've really been, so blessed by people not being irresponsible with their vulnerability, but I've been so blessed by people's strategic vulnerability. And so even in this season, as I lean in this community more, I wanted to do that. I didn't want to just do a training in January with this idea that I thought was amazing in terms of goal setting, and then not have integrity and circle back and say, hey, here's how this did work for me, or here's how this didn't work out for me, because I want people to know that sometimes things don't work out. The key is, can you course correct? That's the difference between the optimizers and the non-optimizers. It is the ability to course correct. And when I worked this R3 framework, guys, I'm telling you, more in 3 weeks than 3 months. So there's some things I had to shift. I think 3 out of the 4 things I had to shift from Q1 to Q2. Out of my 4, I got 1 of them. I had to, I was 1 for 4. I'm usually 4 for 4 or 3 for 4. I got 1. But watch this. Kimberly, listen to this. When I tell you I'm okay with it, here's what I learned. I'm not lazy. I'm not trying. So I learned the difference between giving myself grace and making excuses. Giving yourself grace isn't making an excuse. It's giving yourself time. I'm going to get it. I'm not looking for a way out. I just needed more time. This was a new strategy. It was a new approach, and it didn't work out. I didn't know what I didn't know because this was my first time doing it this way. I'm a human. So now I've learned this. I'm going to try to apply what I learned so I can do better. But I didn't beat myself up one bit. I moved those goals right down to Q2, and I feel just as good about myself as I did when I wrote them in January. I feel just fine. You disappointed in you? Nope. I'm proud of the lessons I learned. This helpful, guys? All right, so we're going to have this training in the portal. I just wanted to kind of come back and share this with you, give you an update, and I'll circle back and let you know how this is working and what I've learned and when I'm tweaking. That's the great thing about being a part of a continuity program. We grow together. We continue to do that, and super excited, man. Love you guys. Listen, I think in a couple of weeks, I think we sent a video out. We're gonna be, if you've got friends that have asked you about the den and things of that particular nature, I just want to remind you, we open the den up typically about once a year. And it's not that we don't want to open it up more. We just have a lot of programs and stuff going on. And when we bring new people in, we like to bring them in a certain way. And I have to have time to do that and things of that particular nature. So we're going to, I think it's after Easter, we'll be opening the den up for people. So I'm not going to do it won't be a big master class or anything like that. We're just going to open it up, and we're going to let people know on social. We'll open it up. We got a wait list. We'll inform the wait list, and we'll let people know that way. But I'm just letting you know, just in case there are people that you know that want to get in it. Tell them that they want to get in it in 2025. Yeah. When it opens, we want them to be a part. And you guys know we always, whenever we open it, we try to improve it and upgrade it and et cetera. So when this goes out, you're going to be seeing an additional collective that we actually added that we're going to be making available for a specific group of people. So I don't want you to be confused about that, because if you've been in from day one, every single collective or every single iteration that we add, no matter where level you came in on, like when we first opened this up, it was only one level. And so one tier of membership. And so if you came in on day one, every time we add something, we automatically include it for you. But there's this additional tier. People have been kind of asking me about this for a while. And, but man, I'm super clear on, people have been asking for different things, different ways. But anyway, there's going to be another tier that when we open this up that we'll make available to certain people. It's really for leaders. It is for, and when I say leaders, I mean they can be leading inside an organization or leading an organization that they founded and that they are responsible for. So it's for leaders. It is for people that are stewarding influence in some sort of way in whatever field. It is for content creators. It's for coaches. It's for course creators. What I want to do is I wanted to create a tier where I merge life and leadership. Like I was having a conversation with a guy today who is an entrepreneur in Atlanta, and he has this building, and he's trying to retrofit and renovate this building. He wanted to use it as event space and educational space, et cetera. So I wanted to go see his space, and then I wanted to take him to a location, our Gwinnett location, so he could see how you can kind of retrofit and whatever. And I told him, I looked at him and said, your burden as a leader is different than the burden of the CEO of Coca-Cola. Because you not only have to manage the people that are serving in the company, you're producing the Coca-Cola. Did you hear what I just said? Yeah. So you're not managing just what someone else is producing. You produce, and you have to lead and manage. So I was like, those dynamics are different. And I was like, very often you either get training for life when you're carrying that, or you get training for leadership when you're carrying that. And here in the den, we believe in, it's just got to be comprehensive, man. Here's what I'm telling you. What happens with your life will affect your leadership. Will it not? Will the wrong personal standards show up in your leadership? Yes. Will the wrong relational standards show up in your leadership? Yes. Like what happens personally in my life, it affects my leadership. Now, here's the thing too. Now, when it comes to leadership, if I don't have my systems in place, if I'm not like on top of what I need to be on top of, it messes up my life. So now the time that I should have for recovery and restoration and prayer walks, I want you to think about this. Can I be real quick? If you're too busy for a prayer walk, you're too busy. If you're too busy for a prayer walk, you're too busy. What I mean, I'm not saying you have too much to do. I'm saying you're not doing what you're doing the right way. Does that make sense? There's a way where there's a degree of mastery that is required if you're going to be productive and have peace. And if you're not willing to rise to that level of mastery, then one of them you're going to have to sacrifice. This is literally taking this theological concept of dominion, which when God gave it to Adam and Eve, he gave it to them primarily over themselves, right? Not over any other human. That's a whole different conversation. So this is like culturally, we would call it mastery. Biblically, we would call it dominion. It is like, yo, how do I raise my level of mastery to master my life at this level and leadership at this level? Because they're both impacting each other. So if you leading teams and you can't get your teams to perform, when they dropping the ball, you got to pick it up. Where that time coming from? It's coming from somewhere. It might be coming from life. Come on here. You got to. Am I making sense, guys? It's only 168 hours in the week. God's not giving you any more. So when that team is underperforming, somebody's dropping the ball, you got to pick it up. That's a time expense that's coming from somewhere else. And it might be coming out of that recreational box, that rest box, that spiritual box. And it's like, man, by the time you take the prayer walk, you so frustrated. The walk just, you just walked out the frustration. It wasn't even a lot of prayer. It was complaining. I can't believe, So it was just a walk. So anyway, you guys are that tier, that's different. We're calling that the inner circle. And we want that to be, for people who kind of fall in that category. So that'll be the one thing that you see different. I wanted you to be aware of that. We used to do these things called immersion experiences where people come in and watch me record content and stuff like that. We're going to use the same language, but it's not going to be immersion experiences like that. I want my immersion experiences. I'm going to record the content so people can see how we batch report content. But these are going to be like mini masterminds. So my immersion experiences aren't going to be people coming in, watching me record a Daniel's Den or a Bible U. It is going to be content that is curated for people who are trying to master life and leadership. I'm leading something and life is lifing, and I have to raise my level of mastery for both. So these are kind of mini masterminds and really specific content that I think is going to help people who are actually, does that make sense? So there are people who are aspirational, eventually they're going to be carrying stuff, managing this. But then there are people that are in it. And the people that are in it need to be in rooms with people that are in it. And we need to be able to have conversations with people that are in it. Does that make sense? Yeah, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm creating another room because I got people that are in it who asking me different kinds of questions, and a lot of those questions can't get answered in different rooms. And so some of the content I'm curating, I'm not curating for those rooms. And it's not that I have it together perfectly, but I do understand the pressure of having to create and produce and run something. It's one thing if you just got to run it and somebody else is creating and produce it. But when you have to create and run something and you're trying to have a life, that's just a different situation and it requires different conversations. Does that make sense? So even with this guy, something as simple as even with this guy with this building, I want to walk him through our building. I was like, hey man, you put the money in the vision, not the building. I was like, let me show you what wallpaper would do, bro. You don't have to have I'm going to show you how you can make it excellent with wallpaper. Just look mindset, right? The building's not the vision. The building's a tool for the vision. Why would you put all the money in the tools? But that's what he was dealing with. That's the kind of content and conversation he needed. Am I making sense? Yeah, how do you handle underperformers? How do you set realistic expectations for the imperfections of people that you're going to be working with? Let me tell you the 12 Jesus worked with. They were illiterate, competitive, impulsive, cliquish, and unpredictable. And he took 12 of them, trained all 12, and one still didn't work out. Am I making sense? One still didn't work out, Judas. Right? So what does that mean? Here's a leadership principle. You train the many to find the few. The training is not going to take with everybody. But John Maxwell says the only thing worse than, I'll leave it alone. Anyway, y'all got my point. Y'all got my point. So anyway, when that'll be something that's different. And when you see that come out, that's something you're interested in. When it comes out, you'll jump in that tier if you feel like that's helpful for you. But guys, I hope this was great. I wanted to just share this with you. I'm going to, I'm not taking a full sabbatical this summer. I'm taking a sabbatical out of the office. I'm not taking a sabbatical. I'm gonna take a couple of Sundays off. But anyway, before I kind of take my summer break, I'll circle back and let y'all know. So this is like May, June. Yeah, maybe like the middle of June or so. I'll circle back and let y'all know how these couple of months have gone and what I've learned. And we're gonna get through this together. Helpful? All right, love you guys. Take care.